Hi. Hello. This is Quest, the adventure game podcast. I'm Ben.
I am Jess.
Right before this podcast, I received a text from my brother,
hmm
uh, and which was, I haven't listened to your podcast yet, but I will.
Wow, future listener.
So
If you're
he's
out
going to
there,
hear
Ben's
this.
brother,
So
yes.
he's already behind. As we record this, what number is this? This is the ninth. This is the ninth
Wow.
one. I
Lucky
just
number 9.
finished the edit of number 7, which is the one about consoles, and so he's already going to be behind by the time that he hears me say, I just got your text. Will I respond to you now, or will you have to listen to all of these podcasts to receive my response, which is cool.
Very cool. Could we go back and update some of the earlier ones and like leave little breadcrumbs for your brother and just update the RSS? And now there are little hidden messages for him there to appreciate along the way, building up to you eventually saying cool.
I would just like to put the re-edit and put in the breadcrumb of let's fix the first episode, which I don't entirely like.
That's weird, because I only hear good things about it to my face. Everyone to my face has said they really loved that episode. So if I trust what people say to my face about my creative endeavors, I think it's great.
Great. This is Quest, where we talk about adventure games. Both of us stream on Twitch. I'm PS_Garrick.
I am Decaf Jedi.
And we both play a bunch of adventure games on there. But before we get to any of that, before we talk about adventure games, unless we decide to talk about adventure games during this segment, Jess, what have you been playing?
I want to talk about an adventure game, Ben.
Oh,
Believe it or not, usually,
it sounds like the Boo Birds are out.
Thank you, Ben. I love you for that. That's a callback. Yeah, usually we don't talk about adventure games until at least like the 25-minute mark. And but here I'm here to talk adventure games right from the jump because I've been playing Gray Matter, the Jane Jensen 2010 street magician mystery point and clicker.
Okay. Was that now? So I haven't seen, you've been streaming that a little bit. Was that in the style of the remake of Gabriel Knight 1 that she did? Was like, did it like handle like that, or how does it play? Like what type
It plays a little bit like that. Like you've got like pre-rendered backgrounds which look really good, and then some chunky 3D models that look less good sometimes.
They look
Lavish backgrounds.
They'll
do. They're perfectly serviceable. And
right.
yeah, I mean it's interesting though. We'll probably end up talking about Jane Jensen in today's episode, so we'll get a lot of time to heap praise on Jane Jensen. But I love the Gabriel Knight series, and I'm early in this one so far. I mean, it has some of the vaguely supernatural sort of stuff. It has all the Jane Jensen vibes. I have no idea where it's going.
Is there any queerness in it?
Let me think. So far, no.
What?
But at any moment.
What's the plot? What's going on there?
Well, you are a magician named Sam. She is a cool kind of alternative magician type who shows up at a creepy old mansion riding on her motorcycle in the rain like she's Kathy Rain or something. And she turns up at this mansion, and a person who's there to apply for a job as a lab assistant with a creepy old doctor who wears a Phantom of the Opera mask. She gets scared away.
Yeah.
And then just like you're going to go up there and you're going to flim flam your way in and pretend to be the research assistant just so you have somewhere to sleep for the night.
Okay.
And then you get pulled into this doctor's creepy experiments.
This is kind of a fun premise. Like it's
it's almost a Rocky Horror up. At some level, I mean, it's fun. I mean, what's nice, like what's really fun about it? This is I think this is the gimmick. This is the hook.
All right.
Some of the puzzles you solve with magic and sleight of hand. Like not magic like I'm a magician, like
Oh,
magic like I'm a stage magician. So it even
right.
has like an interface where you use this book of tricks. You have to figure out the right trick for the right situation, and you have to
Yeah.
like palm atoms and then like reveal them or interact with something that's sitting on a table and everything. So you adapt all of these little stage tricks you
Oh.
use to solve certain puzzles along the way, along with just
Ah,
typical inventory puzzles and stuff like that. So
that's fun.
it's a fun gimmick. I'm still relatively early in it, but it's worth checking out. I mean, it definitely has that 2000s, early 2010s point and click adventure game sort of vibe. It looks like it could be like a Lost Siberia game
A
a
lot
little bit.
of a lot of those games before like kind of the generally agreed upon engine for that type of adventure game, it just everything moved over to AGS. Not
Yes.
everything. Obviously there's a bunch of games not made on AGS, but a lot of games have moved over to that, and that sounds like the sort of thing that, you know, that would have at that time
Yeah.
had that. Like, I mean, it existed, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Everyone knows what I mean.
Everyone knows what you mean, Ben. You don't have to
And
explain yourself to any.
everyone
First of
knows.
all, you don't have to
Everyone
explain
knows
yourself
what
to
I mean.
anybody. You don't have to
Yeah,
explain
that's
yourself
right.
to anybody. You're a
That's
grown
right.
man.
I put my pants on one leg at a time, like everyone else.
Yeah, absolutely. I've seen him do it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's how
That's how we
we
met.
warm up.
That's how we work. That's right. We both put our podcasting pants on.
Yeah,
We turn
yeah.
on our microphones and we start talking.
That's right.
That's how you do this.
But
That's how
the
pros do it.
cameras are on at that point. The microphones are off. That's a crucial detail.
Yes. You don't want to hear me putting my pants on.
No, 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 no.
No, that's no fun.
No, 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 no.
No. That's bad audio. That's bad radio. But no, everyone check out this game from 14 years ago, Gray Matter. It's perfectly cromulent so far and has kind of a good gimmick, a good hook.
Okay. All right. I will check it out.
Well, Ben,
Yeah.
what have you been playing?
So I have been playing the Tetris Forever, which is the Digital Eclipse, their most recent thing, like Gold Master, Gold Series, Gold whatever series. I don't remember.
It's the latest entry in the famous Gold Box series of
Yeah,
D&D.
yes, Pool of Radiance.
Yeah.
It's the third in their. We're going to make a video game documentary that's in a series that uh is just like Atari 50 but doesn't contain Atari 50. The other two being the making of Karateka, the Jordan Mechner martial arts game, and the other one being this Jeff Minter collection.
Hey, Ben, if I
Um,
could interrupt you for just a second.
yeah.
Kara, take my wife, please. Wow, the boo birds are out.
But anyway, so Tetris Forever is their most recent of this, and if you haven't played any of them before, what it is it's like kind of a museum piece of a game. Like it will be the 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 main thing that you interact with is a timeline that has video clips and little bits of ephemera like brochures or design documents that you can look through, and then of course games on it. And sometimes, like in Making of Karateka, there will also be like prototypes and early versions and little offshoots, and so of those three, Making of Karateka, the Jeff Minter games, and Tetris is like by far the biggest property
Mm-hmm.
contained in this, because Tetris is such a massive thing, and there have been like a million different Tetrises. And of course, the most famous versions of Tetris are on Nintendo consoles, which means that they will never be included in a collection like this.
Wait, you're telling me Nintendo didn't participate in this project?
I'm as shocked as you are that there isn't a a collection that contains Nintendo published games that I can legally play on my Steam Deck.
So weird.
It is very strange. I'll be honest. Normally they are quite permissive. But
People to have
so
fun.
there like I think the major knock that people have on this is that if you want the story of Tetris, it has been pretty thoroughly disseminated in the last
Yes.
10 years. There's been a movie, Alexei Pajanov and Hank Rogers, I think. Like the two of them have been like giving a ton of interviews. There's a book, there's a bunch of other stuff. You can get that story elsewhere. Um, and then there is not an easy way, like, so this contains I think like 15 different Tetrises, but none of the Tetrises that you like think of, because it doesn't contain Nintendo Tetris. Though it does have a like an interesting monochrome with
Hmm.
a green background
Curious.
version that they made up themselves. It's a completely original version. It's just in a
Inspired by nothing.
1989 style.
Yes. Yes. That boys might like to game with. Is what
Yeah.
you're, yeah, like a, yeah.
Or if like if you were a Hillary Clinton on Air Force One and you had some sort of portable gaming thing, you
Yes.
might have a famous photo of you playing. But anyway,
Does this have the weird ones like faces,
it doesn't
tris?
have faces, and that's one of the so it has Hatris, which sucks ass.
Oh man, if I want to play that,
Awful.
I'd just go play Team Fortress 2, where they have
Oh
lots of
yeah,
hats
yeah,
and
they have
things.
a
You
lot
remember
of
they have hats. That's like
yeah.
that's the joke.
They got a lot of
They have
hats
lots
on
of
there.
hats.
Yeah, they got a lot of hats
They
in there.
stack the hats
Yeah, they
sometimes.
got some hat stacking.
Yeah, some real
It
hat
has
action.
a lot of Bombliss,
Mm-hmm.
which I'd never played before, and you know what? Bombliss is perfectly fine. And then it has this like because a lot of the releases that it has are from this company, Bulletproof Software, later Blue Planet Software, that like handled releases of Tetris in Japan because of the complicated rights structure and who was licensed what. And so it's like a bunch of versions of Tetris I have never played. So that is cool, but like it only has Spectrum, Holobytes, DOS, and Apple II releases of Tetris, and they made a whole bunch of them. They made Faces, they made Weltris, they made Tetris Classic, they made all this stuff. Like I just kind of like I understand everything is like it 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 kind of struggles against the seams of like what they can do, because Tetris has been released on everything and
Yes.
everybody has a favorite Tetris, and it's probably Nintendo one.
Yeah.
But like, you know, I just wish that it got a little weirder.
Yeah.
But the interviews are great. Like
Mhm.
the interviews are really good if you are not like fully steeped in the story. They're really good interviews, and there's really cool footage of like like this guy's home videos as he went to the Soviet Union to find the Alorg or Elorg company so he could license it. And like so you have like, you know, VHS footage of
Wow.
19 like some point in the 80s, I think late 80s, like Soviet Union. And also the guy was there on a tourist visa, and he is attempting to lock down uh like he's
That's not
attempting
cool.
to lock down a business contract
Mm-hmm.
in the Soviet Union. Like there's a point where his translator says to you, "You're not allowed in that building. Like
Yeah.
you're not allowed in there." And he's like, "Well, I have to get this contract." And the translator is like, "I will not go in there with you. You are not allowed in there." And it's like, now uh you know, uh, I wouldn't try to get into trouble in the Soviet Union. Just speaking for myself, if I
See,
were
I
going
would.
there.
I think I would really like play fast and loose with the rules of Soviet era. Uh, Soviet era, customs law, visa law. Like I feel like I could like really just with my charm. I mean, you know this, Ben. I'm
Uh
an
huh.
international traveler.
Hmm.
I really, I mean, I guess cosmopolitan. If cosmopolitan means citizen of every city, that's me. And I think, well, first of all, I think a lot of people aren't going to realize I'm not a Russian citizen if I'm in like 1989 Soviet Union. I'm going to blend in just so completely. So, I mean, yeah, they probably won't even know.
But I just finished watching all the documentary stuff earlier today. I really enjoyed myself. And as I said, it's like, well, I wish they got a little weirder. Like, I wish that Faces was in there, even though that's not a very good game. Like, I
Yes.
wish more of the Spectrum Holobyte stuff was in there. I wish, I just want more. But that all said, it's a perfectly good collection. And the thing is that I always like to play Tetris, so
Yeah.
it doesn't matter. Like, it's like I already have several hours in this collection because like I'm like, oh, it's Tetris, and then I just start playing Tetris for a while. Though the current iteration, the current rule set of Tetris has spoiled me because like Tetris now like does the outline on the bottom,
Uh huh.
and I remember when they started showing the outline on the bottom, and I was like, "This is for babies. This is baby. Like, why? The part of the game." But now I can't play without the outline. If the
Yeah.
outline's not there, I'm just like I script constantly. How are you on Tetris? What's your do you really like Tetris, or are you like is it just a game?
99% of my Tetris experience is the Game Boy Tetris. Like I had a Game Boy
And
and
I'm sure that's the
owned,
case for a lot of people.
yeah, I owned very few games for my Game Boy. I think I had like Tetris, Super Mario Land, and the bad Amazing Spider-Man game
Uh huh.
that is just pure trash. And I played a lot of Tetris. And I mean, it's the perfect portable game. It always has been, everything else. But I really haven't picked up the series for more than just like a minute or two. Like, wasn't there a like battle royale Tetris game briefly a few years
And
ago?
I think it's still on there. I think it's still
Okay.
on the Switch. That would be Tetris 99, and it's
Yeah, I think
fun
I played
as
that for a
hell.
few minutes,
Yeah.
and but yeah, I love Tetris. I mean, let me put this in some context.
Yeah.
Tetris is one of the very small handfuls of games, and this is, I think, a universal experience at some level. One of the small handfuls of games that ever gave me like weird anxiety dreams, where like I played a lot of Tetris one day, went to bed, and couldn't stop seeing falling blocks
Well, of
in
course, that's the
that's the
Tetris effect.
canonical experience, and I didn't sleep for like 2 days straight, and
Oh,
it was rough. It was rough for 12-year-old Jess, and I think it. I mean, the same thing happened with Super Mario 2. Like that's the other game that did it to me,
but
where
you
like
just
every
played Super Mario
I
2.
did. I'm better. I'm okay
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
But like I had a night or two where I went to bed, and every time I closed my eyes, all I could see was Mario ripping a turnip up out of the ground, and it became like this very intrusive thought
Hmm.
that I couldn't rid myself of. And yeah, I mean, sometimes that happens, and Tetris hurt me.
Well, that's a little surprising. I didn't expect that. I was going to say I think you would enjoy this collection.
Let me just trauma dump on you, Ben. That's very
Yeah.
insensitive that you would even suggest I would want to play this. I can't
Oh,
believe
wait.
you.
Well, let's check in with the audience. What do they think? All right.
See,
Well,
sympathy for
they're
me.
on your side this time. Uh,
Finally. I've off microphone, I've said a lot of nasty things about our audience,
mm,
but here and now I'm ready to take most of them back.
yeah. Anyway, even with those caveats, like it sounds like I was pretty down on it. I thought the documentary is excellent, and like the games, Bomb Bliss is pretty fun. And like they made like a new Tetris variation thing for it called Tetris Time Warp, which is perfectly fine. And
Mhm.
I played that for a while, and that was also like it's fun. So anyway,
I love these
uh
collections though. I mean, I do love the like we have done the deep dive. Here is more behind the scenes stuff than any reasonable human being could ever want. I love this format. Like for me, it's like you give me control of the video game industry. You say, Jess, you are now president of video
Yeah.
games. And I'm going to say, I want one of these collections
Oh yeah.
for every game that sold over 100,000 copies ever.
I I I buy these. I have purchased all of these digital Eclipse collections on day one because it's like even like Karateka is a game I never played
Mhm.
before. I have absolutely no affection for. Like I know of Jordan Mechner because he made Prince of Persia and The Last Express, which maybe we'll talk about on some future podcast. But the making of Karateka, I think, actually might be their best one in terms of being a documentary because they had full act like he gave a really great interview and
Mhm.
they got other interviews including with his father who seems like a very interesting and nice guy. um and he had everything. Like he had all of his notes. He had all of like he had all these prototypes. He had all of this stuff. And so it really like even for a game that I have absolutely no affection for or any interest in, like it was like, well, actually you get to see the full journey of this young man. I think he was like 19 or 20 when he made this game. So and it has like multiple different versions of it. It has the Apple II version, has the
Mhm.
Commodore 64, and I think the Atari whatever.
Jaguar.
Yeah,
Now,
the Atari
it
Jaguar
it
version.
helps. I mean, Jordan Mechner is an interesting person who has interesting thoughts about game design and articulates them in an interesting way. Like I can imagine that's the collection where you're going to get like some really good stuff, even if it's a game you don't care about. I mean, even some of these collections are a little less ambitious, like the recent Street Fighter collection that came out. That was mostly just some like behind the scenes stuff, but not nearly that level of like documentary style stuff. Still great. I mean, the dream that will never ever happen for, not to bring this back to adventure games too soon.
No,
But I mean, can you
no.
imagine one of these for LucasArts or Sierra? Like
Yeah,
how
I
much a
would.
small group of people would adore this?
Yeah, do you know like this is a really good way to get me to buy all of these games again.
Yes, for like the third time. Yes, you
Like
will
I
sell them to me a third or fourth time.
like yeah, do one of these for like a King's Quest because it's like, and like we could get Ken and Roberta to tell the same stories they've told a million times. We all
Mhm.
know all of the stories of the development of it, but that's fine. Get them on a camera. They'll tell all the stories. They talk about Mystery House, and maybe you could throw in Mystery House in there too. Maybe one
Yeah.
or two of the other ones, Adventures in Serena, and some of the other
Give us the
early
Japanese
ones.
mystery house.
Yeah, and then like put like then you put King's Quest 1 and you somehow emulate like the PC Junior way where it fills in the thing. Then you throw in like the Master System version. You throw in the SCI 0 remake and I don't know. And then you have I don't know. And then you make King Graham real, and then he says
Yeah.
hi.
Wouldn't that be great? Wouldn't you like to be friends with King Graham?
No,
Why not?
he's always putting his family in terrible danger. Uh,
It's a great point.
also, it seems like he's more upset. Was this you that said this? Someone said this. This is not my
I think I
joke.
may have.
In King's Quest 5, when he walks and he sees like that the castle is missing, seems to be a little more perturbed about the missing castle than the fact that his family is gone. That was your
I
observation. Is
think
that
that
correct?
was, yes. And this is
Like
only
I
something
know that's not
recently I've
one I
landed on.
have.
Yeah, this is only recently like dawned on me. I don't know about King Graham. You're right. Maybe I don't want King Graham to come to life. Uh I want Baron von Glauer from Gabriel Knight
Oh,
2 to come to
all right.
life.
Yep.
I've segued.
Yeah. All right. So Jess, what are we talking about today?
We are talking about FMV or full motion video adventure games.
That's what it stands for.
Yeah, that's it. I just nailed it. That was one of the talking points we had.
Oh, all
We
right.
it said
Ta-
here, don't make it 40 minutes into your discussion of FMV videos before you say what an FMV game is.
I
So
thought I thought we were talking um about, like if I had a brother named uh Ferdinand Michael Vigeant. Like what would that be like?
that'd be crazy. I mean, I'd be like,
I thought
how's
that was what we were talking about. That's what all my notes
yeah.
are about.
Have I ever told you that my grandfather used to call me Ferd for some reason?
No.
Yeah, I don't know why. Like my entire life never
Now
called me anything but Ferd, like short for
did
Ferdinand.
and he was in full control of his
Ben,
facilities.
Ben, what are you implying? No, of course he was.
Just called you by a different name when you were a child.
Well, yeah, and never called me anything but that. Ferd.
Sure. All right.
Yeah, but this is gonna Ferd motion video.
Third motion video. All right.
FMV games.
Yeah. What I mean, it's so let's roll the clock back to the CD, the dawn of the CD-ROM era,
Oh,
and just how cool all that, like, and you like, so what, let's say this, when was the first computer you got with a CD-ROM drive?
oh
Like
gosh, that
that.
must have been probably like 92, I'm gonna say.
92. Wow, you
The-
were way ahead of us. I don't think we got ours until 95 or 96.
okay.
And I was jealous because all of our, like, the number of games that were coming out on discs was getting less and less and less every time we went to the store. And also I was so, like, I so desperately wanted to hear the voices
Yeah, I
and
mean,
have those
listen,
on the
let me
disc.
just say, when Interaction Magazine told me to go buy a CD-ROM drive, I went out that day. I listened to whatever Interaction told me. And Ken Williams, in his editorial up front, said, Jess, you need a CD-ROM drive. And when I get an order from the big man, I'm going out and buying that CD-ROM drive.
So what, all right, but like, yeah, to put ourselves in, like, there was this dream in the of
Yes.
the multimedia era where, like, it was video and it was like high quality music. We were going to make like these Hollywood experiences, and like, and a Hollywood experience means actors.
Absolutely. Only the finest actors, too.
Oh,
This,
go ahead.
oh no, you please. No.
It's interesting because you see, like, there's obviously, like, a lot of these FMV games have uh like, kind of like B tier actors, or like working actors. No one you've
Mhm.
heard of. But then, like, you see a game that has like a couple like actual names show up in it, and I kind of got the sense when like, let's say um Isabella Rossellini shows up in a Goosebumps game, that someone like, agents or actors, and this is only supposition on my part, but that, like, there was a feeling that it's like, oh, maybe we should get in on this. Like, is this
Yes.
what, like, you know like, because there are a couple times where, like, like, name actors like show up, like Christopher Lloyd in Toonstruck. Like, that's not, like,
Absolutely.
that's kind of, yeah, that's an FMV game in some respects.
Yeah.
Um, but
N-
like, it's like, you see sometimes in that era, like, a big deal name actor show up in something.
And I always
And
assume that has to be
yeah.
one of two things. Like this actor is interested in applying their trade in a whole new medium. They want to trod the boards that have never been trod before, or they have been tricked by their agent or manager in some way and didn't know what they were signing up for.
Yeah.
I think those are the two forms. I mean, yeah,
Or they're offered just a ton of money. Like, it was just
yeah,
like, "Here's a lot of money."
yeah.
And they're like, "Okay." Like,
You know, you say like be actors. I always think, when we look at the actor who plays Gabriel Knight too, or he plays Gabriel Knight
when
in
he
Gabriel
no,
Knight
when
too.
he's Gabriel Knight too,
When
that's
he's
in
Gabriel
the
Knight the
game.
second,
I mean, he is the
the
second
son of
Gabriel Knight.
yeah,
He's
son of
not
Tim
Tim Curry.
Curry, Gabriel Knight. Yes, but like his big credit is an episode of Frasier, and I feel like that is exactly the level of fame that you go into most of these games expecting. This is someone who you might have seen on one episode of a sitcom or like a serialized adventure action type series or something like that.
Right,
And
right.
that's perfect. It's and honestly, I'd rather see someone like that sometimes than like the Hollywood stars slumming it.
Yeah. What was what was your feeling about FMV at the time?
I was a big skeptic. Like I'll tell you, like for me, I would have articulated it this way at like age 12 or 13. But for me, I think this is the era of video games where, especially in the PC space, where technology was really driving the art, maybe more obviously than at any other stage, where it's like, we have these new technologies of CD-ROM and now full motion video and stuff. And we are going to let that be what dictates the games we make rather than a concept for a game. And
Mhm.
I don't think I would have articulated it that way as a kid. I think I looked at it and just says like, I don't know. I loved games the way they were, especially adventure games. It's like I loved Gabriel Knight 1. I don't understand why Gabriel Knight 2 has to be an interactive movie. And it's a lot more than just an interactive movie. It's not
Yeah.
a just
It
click this on, but
wasn't like a Dragon's Lair. Like
right,
a yeah.
exactly. And and I'm just reading about it in magazines and stuff, and so it's like, no, I don't want that. I want like the point and clicky, third persony kind of Gabriel Knight game that I love from the first one. And I think part of this too
Right.
is driven by the technological limitations I had. I was an early CD-ROM adopter,
So it's
but
like a dual speed.
yeah, like single speed, double speed, or whatever. Like I did
Yeah.
not have the kind of drive that was going to make a lot of these games really sing.
Right.
I was using really bad hardware, which means they're going to run horribly, if at all.
Yeah.
And then I have to say, like the first, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, my first foray into the world of FMV adventure games
Right.
was. Are you familiar with this one, Ben? MTV's Club Dead.
No.
Yeah, I mean it is a strange cyberpunk MTV, just terrible.
Are you gonna
Point.
stream this soon?
I
This
should
seems
stream this.
like
I mean,
it should it
it's
I mean,
awful.
it would probably get muted and give you a copyright strike.
Yeah, I mean,
Because
I
I
don't even
assume
know
there's
if it.
probably licensed music and stuff. But
Probably, who knows? But I mean, it's terrible. It's just, it's like surreal, and they use that as an excuse for it not to make sense. And it ran terribly. And I got it in the bargain bin at KB Toys for $5. And I was just like, if this is what full motion video games are, if even an illustrious studio like MTV Games can't do this,
wow.
who can?
Well, and that sounds kind of like it was it a like a something that you only really found at that time, like in that early to mid 90s period of it's a multimedia CD. And what that means is like you put it in and you'll get like a little splash screen, and it's generally just uh little something that you just kind of interact with in the same way that you would interact with like a museum exhibit that has like 5 buttons.
Yes, that was basically it. Yeah, I mean, you're getting the world's tiniest video window with the worst interlacing you've ever seen
Right.
and almost no interaction, which is a far cry from a well-made FMV adventure. And I think I had a really negative, like I didn't play Gabriel Knight 2 until just like 4 years ago for the first time.
Yeah.
I stayed away from it. I was just being a real brat about it. I was just like every other gamer dude who's ever taken a principled stance on something stupid
Yep.
ever. And I stuck with that for a really long time. And, I think I've probably mentioned this on our podcast before, but you know this, Ben.
Mhm.
Absolutely love Gabriel Nutt too. It may
Yes, you
be
do.
top 2 or 3 Sierra games for me. And
Right.
I think this is, let me throw this out there
Okay.
as a statement for you. And you tell me agree or disagree.
All right. I'm ready to agree or disagree.
Or if you find something in between.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. All right. All right. All right. All
So
right.
I think when it comes down to it, full motion video adventure games live and die by the performances. There is nothing that good gameplay can do in this tiny little subgenre to overcome a terrible performance, because I feel like the performances
I
are so front and center.
I uh I have a nuanced view on that.
Okay, and let me nuance first. When I say good
All right.
performance, I
Oh,
don't
he's trying
necessarily.
to he
I'm
is
I'm I'm,
anticipating my nuance.
I'm
He's
pre-nuancing.
trying to preempt my nuance because he knows what I'm going to say, and
Yeah.
now he's like, I'm not the bad guy.
Well,
Everyone
now,
pay
yeah,
attention.
Ben's gonna come in here. It's like, well, as someone
Everyone
who's
pay
spent time
attention.
on the
Watch out.
stage.
Watch out, boo birds. Here they come.
Okay, when I say good here, I'm talking about entertainment value,
Right.
not
Yes.
like, is this an Oscar caliber performance? Let me at
Okay.
least give it that little caveat. Because Gabriel Knight 2, full of wild over the top performances, a lot of which are pretty hammy, but it
Here
works.
here's a question. Can't and I throw this to the audience because I sincerely this isn't me throwing a question where I know the answer. And I don't think you have an answer either. So if you, the listener, have an answer, please email us at questquestpodcast@gmail.com. And the question is there an FMV game that you believe has like very sincerely great acting? And I want to be clear, I'm not putting down. There's a lot of stuff.
Wow.
I like it all. This isn't, but like a performance that you would see where you're like, this, I could put this on a stage and like a stage critic would be like, that's acting. Because like it's a
Acting?
generally like FMV performances are very, like a little like part of it is the talent pool, part of it is that it's all genre stuff,
Yes.
almost entirely, almost. Uh, uh, and part of it is it's like, well, also we're talking about like one of the very earliest generations of performers that have to do like full green screen acting like it's Star Wars episode 1, except that like they have like, they don't have Lucas
I was
dollars.
going to say, yeah, the director they're working with too is no George Lucas, and that's
Yeah.
a pretty low bar. I mean, this
So
is,
so like, but you understand what I'm saying,
I
right?
do.
Like
I
it's
mean,
like I enjoy the acting in Night Trap, but it's not like good
yeah,
acting.
no, and I mean, a lot of it, I mean, gosh, Phantasmagoria. You have to talk about, if we're talking, Sierra stuff. Phantasmagoria is it's a game that has its moments. I don't know if it ever rises to the point of being effective psychological horror or anything like that, but man, there's some dire performances in there. Just
I
like
think Immortality might have some
that
of the
was going to be
best
my answer,
best
Ben. You
acting.
you and I
And
have
let's
arrived.
yeah, let's get to Immortality later. Let's put
Yes, that's the
Immortality.
great thing about immortality. There's always time for
Yeah, there's
doing it
always
later.
more time.
Yeah,
Uh I'll go back to how I felt about it at the time, which was, so we didn't get, as I said, we didn't get a computer with a CD-ROM until 95 or 96. And I like, it was just something I desperately wanted and couldn't have. And by the time that we got our computer, that was already like on the downslope of like the big deal FMV era.
yeah. because this is like a short period, really,
It
where
it
this is.
really didn't last that long
Yeah, and I think the
because
costs were massive. I mean, to
it
do
was
this, yeah.
like so I think the the first big one is Seventh Guest, just a DOS adventure game. It's a lot of like I guess a lot of annoying puzzles and big acting and like it sold extremely well. And I think also the thing is that once the gimmick was kind of like metabolized, people were like, okay,
What else do you have? And I think
yeah,
that's the thing. The words you choose there is dead on. I think to me, this felt gimmicky. It didn't. Again, it felt like putting the gimmick in front of the game more so than a lot of technologies. It just felt for a lot of these that failed felt very gimmicky at the time, which I
well,
think is unfair to the subgenre probably a little bit.
and I mean, FMV games, like a lot of the joy of playing a video game is this feeling that you're in control and that you're in control of like this character and that you can do all of this stuff. And making it FMV removes a lot of that because it's like, well, you know that you're only ever going to be dealing with, and this is obviously the case with any game, but it's like with FMVs especially, like to the player, it's very obvious that there is a very set number of things that possibly can happen because it's a video. Like, it's not going to generate like, the actor Dirk Benedict in Zork Grand Inquisitor is not going to do a surprise new move. He's only going to do the couple scenes that he was there on the day that they shot it for, you know?
Thank goodness we have AI now, though, so that soon we can start building games where Dirk Benedict can say anything we want him to say.
Yeah, finally. I
Finally.
so I let's talk about some of our favorites from that era. Number one for me is Tex Murphy Under a Killing Moon. Now I know everybody
Ooh.
loves Pandora Directive. I've not played it yet. I know and I will. Don't worry about it, everyone. It will be okay. Uh, I uh, I played Under a Killing Moon, which is like kind of this Blade Runner inspired detective, like future detective noir game with a very light touch, and it is FMV, and it looks the funny thing about all this FMV stuff from the period too is that like they use FMV to kind of brag about like look how expensive this is, look how fancy this is, but all of the FMV games like look like, don't look good.
No, no, it's
Like
rare to
they
find
all
one.
look cheap.
Yeah,
Like not all, but they mostly look cheap.
yeah. And a
And
lot of times it's the lack of actual sets.
right.
Yeah, it just, yeah, cheap, cheap.
And so the Tex Murphy games, which are mostly like local Salt Lake City area actors, uh like the costumes aren't great and the actor like the acting is very ham and cheese, but you know what, it, it's got heart and soul, and that's what makes it like the performances in it, and it's kind of awareness of like has a very good sense of what it is, and like it doesn't like that it as a game it doesn't take itself too seriously, that like the performances are all like kind of like well, a little bit of a wink with all of the performances. It won me over completely.
Yeah, this is one I haven't played. I haven't played any of the Tex Murphy games and really need to. It's a real hole in my adventure game.
I think I mean Under a Killing Moon, as I said, that's the only one I've played. I thought it was like there's a couple like there's this really annoying puzzle in it where you're trying to like avoid a sentry. And it
Yes,
also like
the office
alternates.
building thing, right? I think I
Yeah.
watched you stream this part.
and it's like it's not horrible, but it's annoying.
Yeah,
And then like the movement in it, like it switches from like this first person, like there's this first person movement mode, which I'm sure they thought was extremely cool at the
absolutely.
time.
It's like
But
playing Wolfenstein in an
yeah,
adventure game.
yeah, like it has the exactly like this Wolfenstein or Doom type look, and the movement is entirely like you move forward by moving your mouse forward instead of like
Oh,
put. Yeah, it
such
is.
a
It's
mistake.
yucky. It feels bad. But
Needs a
once you get
trackball.
once you get used to it, I bet with a trackball it would feel great, honestly.
Yeah.
But yeah, once you get used to it, then it's like it's fine. It's fine. So yeah, that's a game. Tex Murphy under a Killing Moon, just really fun performances. And then a couple like they got James Earl Jones to do a little bit of voice work, and they have like a couple other people in the games. In the last one that they made in the 90s, so not counting Tesla Effect, which they did like as a Kickstarter like 10 years ago or whatever. Um, but the last one had like Michael York, Logan
Wow.
from Logan's Run.
There you have it. Was
Uh,
Margot Kidder in Under a Killing Moon? Had she entered the picture by that point?
yeah, I think she was, or she was in Pandora Directive. She was in one of those. I don't know. But I don't remember. It's been a minute. But yeah, that one is fun, and I love like in the FMV is just like I remember going into it and being like, "Ugh, it's one of these FMV games, yuck." And then like I played it and it's like, "Oh, this is actually very fun." And the video is amazing and I love watching it.
I think that I may have purchased Under a Killing Moon around the time it came out because I read, you know, magazine articles about it, reviews, and it seemed very much up my alley. And I believe I got it home and just could not get it to run on my
Oh, I'm
system at the time.
sure you had to like do all sorts of
Yeah,
like
I
make edit your auto exec
yeah.
and make a boot disk and all this crap.
Oh yeah,
Thank
yeah.
God we don't have to do that shit anymore.
Oh, I know. Yeah, and I mean it again. I mean, that's part of that process of how I got soured on FMV games. I was just like, my crappy computer can't make this one sing. But I mean, now in an era where disk swapping and slow drive read speeds and stuff like that aren't around, it's one I should revisit.
Yeah, that's another good point. Is that also like FMV games? They would come and you would get like six, CDs, and there
Yeah.
would be like disc swapping. And I remember, I think it was like when we were streaming it. I think uh uh like someone was pointing out like you're really enjoying this, but I just want you to note that it's like that like leaving like that room and then going into the next room and then going into the next one, that was like three different discs and it took forever at the time, and so you don't really know like it was a total pain in the ass in like 1993. I'm just letting you know that. And I'm like, well, yeah, no, it's great now. It's awesome.
That's right. Yeah. Screw those kids back in 1993.
Yeah, whatever.
Forget
Who
them.
cares?
Yeah. Um, no, that I mean, I've talked before, and I won't belabor it here, but Gabriel Knight 2, as I said, for me, absolute masterpiece from some of these earlier eras of FMV. For that one, I think that whether intentionally or otherwise, I think intentionally leaning into the campiness of it for me is what makes that one really work. And I'm not sure. I mean, I know Jane Jensen sets out to tell a pretty serious story and does it alongside the campier bits, but the performances there, just top to bottom. I mean, Von Glauer, especially, I think, is just a really captivating, again, kind of hammy performance, but one that really works for me. But yeah, that one is such a surprise. I think that if the promise of FMV games was to do something maybe in some cases a little more mature, if Hollywood means more mature storytelling, I
Uh-huh.
think that Gabriel Knight 2 edges in that direction.
Well, and people love Phantasmagoria too, which neither of us have played.
No.
But like that is also a mature I mean, it's Phantasmagoria, of course it's mature, but
It's the
it's
most
like
scariest game ever made. The sequel to the scariest game ever made.
I remember, like, oh man, the ad campaign for Phantasmagoria at the time of release was just like this is gonna be the scariest shit you've ever seen in your life. And was it at the time? Did people
No,
feel that way at the time? Because it's like I've watched
no,
people stream it. I've watched you stream it. I've
yeah,
like we'll probably stream it at some point. Um and like it's mostly like not it's like unsettling at best. And it has
at
like a
best.
couple
I mean, it's unsettling
like
in the
kind of
wrong ways.
content warning type things
Yeah,
which are upsetting, but
yes.
they're not. I mean, they're scary in a sense, but they're not like ooh, like things
Yeah.
that go bump in the night.
And
Like
yeah,
you
those
know,
parts I don't think they realized were actually the scarier parts of it. Some like a realistic, yeah, sort of level of fear there versus like, yeah, there's spooky ghosts or something
yeah,
is very different. Can I tell you some behind the scenes
a little
never before
BTS. Yeah.
OBTS? Um, let's go back to Interaction Magazine.
All right. We
There
love
was
talking about Interaction Magazine, the company magazine of Sierra Online.
yes, where I
And
got all of my Sierra News because it's the only place you could trust your
yeah.
Sierra News.
Well, they're there. So who else?
That's right. Who's going to give you a better? I mean, it's like if you have a Nintendo, you read Nintendo Power because they're going to tell you which games are good, and the answer is all of them.
Yeah,
All of them are great. You'll enjoy them on your Nintendo Entertainment System.
exactly. You'll be
But
entertained on the Nintendo Entertainment
yes,
System. It's right there on the box. All right.
it's a system for entertaining.
Yeah.
But let me tell you this BTS. So
Okay.
there was a little piece I think about maybe Space Quest 6 in one of the issues of Interaction, and in it Scott Murphy, who is being interviewed, brings up Phantasmagoria and talks about how scary it is, and I believe he refers to it as being a two Pampers kind of game, like that
That's
you're
a
going to need
fun
adult
little
diapers.
that's a fun little way to put it.
Yeah. I once asked him about that, and he said, I never said that shit. They made that up. They just fabricated an entire interview with me in that issue of Interaction. I would never say that
They
about
didn't interact
Phantasmagoria.
with him.
They did not they did not interact with him. So here's what I'm here to tell you, Ben. Interaction's a lie. It turns
What?
out they were just trying to sell us Sierra games this whole time.
No.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
No.
Yes. I'm sorry, Ben. I didn't want to have to tell you like this.
Yeah, not like this. Not
Not
like
like
this.
this. Not like this. But yeah, Space Quest creator Scott Murphy never said it was a two Pampers game.
He said it was 3. Um
Twist.
Let's see another FMV. The Zork games, the ladder Zorks, the ladder 3 Zorks, which would be
The
Return.
Church of the Latter Day Zorks.
Yeah, the Church of the Latter Day Zorks. Um, Return to Zork, Zork Nemesis, which I haven't really played. I've played a little bit of, and Zork Grand Inquisitor, which I have, which is great. Those were all FMV, and I mean, like let's go back to performances. I mean, Return to Zork.
Is nothing but performances.
Uh,
Wall to wall performances.
yeah, there's performances in it. There,
Ben, can I ask you a question?
now I'll have you know that it's tomorrow I gotta work, so if this is an invitation to drink some form of whiskey, I might have to turn you down. But what's
Well,
your question?
question withdrawn.
Oh, okay.
That's good radio.
Yeah, like it's funny. Yeah, Return to Zork has some very big performances in it. Um, very strange performances
Surrounding
in
a
it.
very terrible game.
I don't even
Can
know.
I say that?
I'd
Is that
call
too
it.
hot of a take?
I don't know. I mean, it's not good.
No.
Uh, it's very strange.
It is odd.
It's it's so strange that I don't hate it. But I also have never beaten it because it glitched out on the final puzzle for me, and I was so mad that I was like, "All right, well that's it, all done." Uh, uh, but I mean, I wouldn't call it good, and I wouldn't say that it makes any sense. And it has a lot of problems, and it has dead ends, I believe. But it has a very odd charm to it, in large part to these ridiculous performances, including the guy who memorably says, "Want some rye? Of course you do."
Crystal Ball Wizard.
Crystal Ball Wizard.
Is he a
You know,
wizard?
yeah, he's a great wizard.
Oh, okay. I,
Um,
I'm not a Zork. I'm not a Zorksman.
Zork Grand Inquisitor. That's when they started to throw in some real star power. So it has the aforementioned Dirk Benedict, who played Starbuck on the 70s Battlestar Galactica.
And Faceman on A Team.
Yeah. And then get your vacuum cleaner out because there's going to be a lot of glitter. They have, of course, Rip Taylor. Rip Taylor is in Zork Grand
Wow.
Inquisitor.
Now,
Uh,
now you've got me back.
yeah. It has 90s 90s that guy actor. So if you don't know who this guy, like I'm about to say, you've seen him in stuff. Eric Avari plays the
Mm.
titular Grand Inquisitor. He's a that guy actor, especially in the 90s. He was all over the place. He was in he was in at least one Star Trek episode. He was in a Deep Space Nine episode, I believe. But he was just a guy that was just all over the place as a character actor. And then there's voice acting by Michael McKean,
Ooh,
who is
yes.
easily like that is he's the most,
That's a
you
get.
know, like he's the most get, but they didn't get him on camera. He wasn't gonna go on camera for them, but he'll sit down in a voice booth and read all that shit. But those, I mean, like it was very exciting to see that video at the time, but even Zork Grand Inquisitor, which I believe was 97, like you could tell it was already on the way out. And it kind of had like we had it, I believe, on DVD. We had a DVD ROM at that point. And so like that was part of like kind of the promise of it, like of like the DVD ROMs was it's like, oh look, we have FMV again. And now it's at like a higher, and like it's like even outside of adventure games you had like the Wing Commander games, which were well known for their FMVs, like with Mark Hamill,
The
Luke
Mark Hamill.
Skywalker himself.
Yes.
Uh
Out there shooting down Kilrathi.
but really by the time you get towards the end of the 90s, people were not interested in that sort of thing anymore. That was like a weird little dead end,
Yes.
right? Like that was just a weird little, they're like, we tried that and we thought it'd be really cool, but no, people don't like that. And it's also like because I think Sierra spent an enormous amount on like a studio, then
Yes. And they
made.
made like one game in it, right? Like I think that they barely produced a full game in this giant studio they made.
Well, I think because there are 3 FMV adventure games
Hmm.
that they made. Phantasmagoria's 1 and 2, and Gabriel Knight 2.
Right. Yeah. So maybe, yeah.
So I would assume that at least like I would assume some of them were made in there.
Yeah. I did. Yeah. I mean, it was, and from what I understand, it was like fantastically expensive because there was a brief period where I think the assumption was this is just what adventure games are going to be
This
now.
is what they're going to be.
And
Like
then
it's
like 3 years later, it's like 3D is what adventure games are going to be.
yeah, it's like like yeah, exactly. Like it really seemed like this, or at least the push, you know, uh I don't know, like I can't say. I wasn't, I was a child, Like, I don't know if people like was that, we're gonna have more video in every video game. Like, was that something that people at the time were kind of like, nah, not really. Like, people are like, this is just a gimmick. This is gonna go away. Or did more people than just, the rich guys that run companies that are always looking for the hot new thing,
You see, my
think of that?
impression, like reading old issues of Computer Gaming World, is that it was very hit or miss with the reviewers. Like there would be a decent one that came along that would get good reviews, but almost from the jump, they were, very skeptical of this as a gimmick. I think the games that felt like they were cashing in, the ones that are just like, if we throw some, QuickTime videos onto a CD-ROM or whatever and sell it, that, we're going to make the big money. I think that there was a lot of perception that there were too many of those clogging the market and not enough of the quality productions. And then, also, this is a rabbit hole we don't need to go into, but, this platform also takes off for erotica at the time too. It's those are all advertised on the back pages of Computer Gaming World. Where you have games with titles like Seymour Butts, a point and click adventure game.
Is that real? Is that
Yes.
real? Or you
Yeah,
just
his
make
name is
little,
Seymour Butts.
that's just a little joke.
It's for
Just a
people who
little
found
just a
less
little test
manly.
joke.
No, that's for people who
Is
found
that
less
really
manly.
real?
Yeah, just Google Seymour Butts video game. I mean, like everyone, listen to us Google.
See, all right, more butts with a Z or
No,
just
it's two T's.
okay game. The interactive adventures of Seymour Butts. I can't believe this. Whoa.
Ben, I wouldn't lie to you. I mean, there's
I
man
mean, it
enough.
just sounded like a joke you made.
It does sound like a joke I would make. That's very much my kind of joke. There's Man Enough, which is like the FMV dating sim from the fine folks at Tsunami Media, Oakhurst, California's second largest software developer, that also made Blue Force. So you can, Man Enough is another fine title, dating sim from that era.
I I am I am just amazed.
Everyone,
It's
that's
just
your official
it's just
recommendation.
called Seymour Butts. Like it's just
Now,
like I
Ben,
don't know.
you do get that this is a pun. Like,
What?
I mean, yes, the man's name is Seymour Butts,
Yeah, I
but
just thought that was just his name. You're
but
gonna
what if
tell me
you
there's
break that down
something
like
more?
see
Okay.
more butts?
Oh, I got it. All right. Very
Yeah.
good.
So now it makes sense. Now
Yeah.
you're less like shocked by this. No, those aren't good games. But I mean, again, it's an era where it's like, especially if you're looking for like, can I drag some models into a studio and have them say some flirty things to a camera and turn it into a cheapy cheap visual novel dating sim sort of thing. This is an era where a lot of that's going on too. And again, it's flooding the market with just low effort products that I think do drown out some of the quality work that's being done. Like a game from this era that I really like. And again, we think about games that, if I say they live and die by their performance
Mhm.
quality, quality of the performance is not how well they spin up in your CD-ROM drive. The X-Files game from 1998 is
Hey.
a perfectly fine adventure game, and it has a little bit of screen time for David Duchovny and Gillian Anderson. They are there. They're doing their thing. They're moldering. They're scullying, respectively. And for them, I think probably it was just another day at the office. I mean, they're probably filming in Vancouver in between
Yep.
episodes of the actual X Files. And by that point, it was like 3 or 4 seasons
Because
in.
the main character, you're not playing
You're not
Mulder
playing
and
them.
Scully.
You're playing a different FBI agent who is searching for a missing Mulder and Scully. And for them, it's their death office. They roll in, they give their performances. They are locked into these characters by now. It
Yeah.
feels like you're watching lost footage from an episode of the X. And Mitch Pileggi,
Oh,
assistant director
Yeah.
Skinner, is
Yeah.
there in a much more prominent role as a more affordable actor, I imagine. and he's knocking it out of the park. I mean, he is bringing his A game. It's a game with some great performances. Now, the lead and a lot of the less the new characters, the original creations, are all over the place with just, I mean, they're trying to do like that sort of deadpan kind of humor that X-Files does a lot of,
yeah.
and not getting it. Like it's not clicking well necessarily.
X-Files performances have to be very like to do like Mulder and Scully, like that very low, like kind of like that kind of X-Files kind of whisper, mutter talk. It's kind of
Yeah.
slow.
You've got to
Like,
be able to
you have to
match
be
David Duchovny's energy.
you have to be very talented to make that work, because otherwise it's boring.
Yeah.
But like, in their hands, it was, deeply entertaining, obviously. And of course, in the hands of whoever else it was those last couple seasons. Did they try to do that? I don't know. I'm not really an X-Files guy.
I mean, did they replace them with other leads?
Well, no, that I know, but I mean,
yeah.
new leads, like, did they try to do the kind of talk?
They tried to do lots of things.
And so do we all, and that's what's so beautiful about this great voyage that we're all on called life. All right, now, is there anything else from the '90s that we would like to talk about before we close the book on the '90s forever?
Yes, we'll never talk about a game from the '90s again as of right now.
All right, there it is. Now, so yeah, pretty much, like once everybody got into 3D, that was that. Not very much FMV stuff. And then, like, kind of, it feels like recently, I guess it would be like what, in the last 10 years or so, started to see kind of indie FMV stuff. And I'm sure there's always been some stuff. This is not a show that is a research show. So if you're looking for research, move on.
No, we're doing this show with our hearts.
Yeah. Yeah. So think about that. Now, so like the most prominent FMV thing I could think of are the games by Sam Barlow. The last, as I said, the last duration, which would be Her Story, Telling Lies, and most recently Immortality. And I've played Immortality, and I still have some stuff to go left in it. That's a game that I find very unsettling. So
It is
like hard for me
upsetting
to go back to.
Yeah, like in a
but
way
it is
that
very
like
unsettling.
yeah, I mean, in a way that it's like I don't know if another game I can think of off the top of my head that left me kind of like weirdly uncomfortable in a good way. I want to say this for me is like high praise. Like this is unsettling in a very good way. I mean, how would you describe Immortality for our listeners who don't know this one?
So Immortality, first I'm going to zoom out a little bit on Sam Barlow's games. And I haven't, as I said, I haven't played Telling Lies, but I'm pretty sure it has a similar kind of. What's interesting about his approach to these FMV games is that these aren't they're not like direct point and click adventures. They come up with kind of a parser where you are searching through video footage. Is the
it's like
gimmick.
One level extrapolated from the story that's being told. Like you're one step back from it.
Yeah, like in all of the games, you are a like kind of like you're a detective in a way. Like there is a lot of video footage that you are searching through, and the way that you interact with this video footage in the games, like in Her Story, it's that you use a very imperfect search parser that has a bunch of limitations on it in order to find clips. And
they're like witness testimony, interrogation type stuff, right? As I remember that one, yeah.
Yes.
And you're trying to piece together this story out of order
Right.
with partial information,
Yep.
and depending on how good you get at following the breadcrumbs that are dropped in each little clip, you may or may not be able to complete all the story in your
Right.
playthrough. And it's very
And
similar for Immortality at some level.
yeah, immortality is similar. In immortality, instead of using a search parser, you kind of use that. It's that instead you click on or tap or whatever you're using on items in the video, and then it matches it with other instances of when that item showed up in other videos in this. And in immortality, you're tracking the very mysterious and strange career of this film actress, uh who I don't want to spoil it at all in case
No, I feel like saying too much beyond that is,
yeah,
but I mean, what's neat about this one is
it's
it
just very
has a
unsettling.
magic trick. It's very unsettling, first of all, but it
And
has,
it has a very great magic trick, which we definitely can't talk about.
yeah. I mean, but just the idea that the way you shuffle through these clips, like, if I'm watching a little clip and I see, a glass of water sitting on a table, and if I click on that glass of water, maybe it takes me to a different clip that in some way features a glass of water or is about water, or just the notion that it thematically searches through these things, which ultimately probably isn't that much different than the search engine in her story, but it's a cool little magic trick that it pulls off when especially when you're first starting out in the game, and it just feels like magic. It's like, there's no way if I click on that thing,
Yeah,
it's going to take
it
me
does
to a
feel very
related.
cool.
Yeah, it's going to take me. No way it'll work. And it's like, oh wait, it did. It knew exactly what I was trying to get at, and it took me to a clip that I can see the connective tissue
Yep.
and start putting this story together out of order asynchronously. It's neat. It's a really, and again, a game that has stuck with me in a
Yeah.
way that most games don't.
And
Yeah,
and yeah, the as said earlier, this probably does have, I mean, honestly, in her story, the central performance in her story
yeah,
is extremely good too. But yeah, the woman, the actor that they have playing the central character, there's a couple like main characters in Immortality, but like the main character in Immortality, like she has to do a lot in that
yes,
game.
yeah,
And
yeah.
her
It's a big
performance
performance.
is very, like, it's very complicated and it's very interesting, and it's yeah, everyone should go out and play Immortality, and I should finish it. It's just that, like, it like I have to get myself in the right headspace for it, because it is a game
Mm.
that just it gives me a bit of the heebie-jeebies in a good way.
It does.
I wouldn't call it like a five pamper or whatever, but
Yeah, this is why I'm glad I played on
it's
stream, because I
more
think if I were playing
eerie.
this like by myself at night, it would definitely creep me out. Like, I feel
It
like
also
this one.
has nudity. Are you able to do that?
No, no, you know that I've never seen a nude person,
That's
myself
true.
included.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, no, I can't do that.
No, but are you
The
able to stream nudity? I don't know that. Are you able
oh,
to?
um, I mean, I streamed that.
All right,
Yeah, I
great.
guess I did. Yeah, so yeah, I guess I stream nudity all the
Fantastic.
time. I
Great.
thought you were asking if I was allowed to see nudity. I'm like,
Oh
well,
yeah, are
technically,
you?
no,
Does
no,
mother allow?
no. That's right. you know, the,
Mother.
the actress who plays the lead in Immortality, I'm sure just mispronounce her name
Mhm.
horribly, but Manon Gage, I'm going to say is my
Uh-huh.
best guess at this. Also streams on Twitch. I don't
Yeah,
know if
she
you've ever
does.
checked out any of her streams, but good streamer also. But
Yeah.
everyone check out Immortality. I think if there's a game that maybe some of y'all, I mean, I'm betting a lot of us have played your Return to Zorks and your Gabriel Knight 2s and things, but get out there and play Immortality. It's a fantastic, weird, upsetting game.
Yeah. And I know also, like, I think there was something, it might have been in Aftermath or something. Like a one of the like I read a piece like in the last year or so about like how FMV games are very popular, I think in China, something like that. Like there's a
Yeah, I
whole
believe so.
bunch of Chinese, and like some of them are on Steam. I don't know if they're translated or not, but I am very curious about this. Especially if there is like a translated way to play them, because that just sounds really interesting to me. But like, yeah, there's a whole, there's a larger world of all of them that I haven't accessed at all. And I mean, I know that there are other people out there doing very clever and interesting things with FMV, especially these days. It's just the Sam Barlow ones in particular
Yeah.
are very like have become kind of well known.
Another
Yeah.
series that I think mixes in FMV in a really neat way nowadays, that it's adventure adjacent at least. Alan Wake, especially Alan Wake 2,
Oh, right. Yeah, yeah,
does a
yeah. Of
great
course.
job of integrating FMV cutscenes. I mean, even the first one has little bits of FMV, but it's more pronounced in the sequel. Alongside its gameplay, which is
Right.
mostly 3D third person kind of stuff,
Yeah.
But yeah, the use of FMV there, I think, is a nice touch for it nowadays, where you can take this technology that once upon a time it's like the scaffold we build the entire game around, and now it becomes something that's additive to an existing game design. It's like this is something, it's something that spruces up a
Yeah.
game that maybe isn't built just because it's like, hey, we can do full motion video, so let's do
Right.
full motion video.
Yeah, and that's kind of jogging like a thought I'm starting to put together in my head. And I
Okay.
don't, but it's interesting. Thinking about immortality, or like the video segments in Alan Wake, or like, I know that there were at least, in, I think Metal Gear Solid has some FMV in it as well. But I'm not a Metal Gear Solid guy. But like, but going back to like the Sam Barlow ones and some of the other like kind of indie experiments with FMV these days, uh, I think it's really interesting because, as we said, uh, like when we were talking about the '90s FMV, a lot of it was a top down decision of like, this is, or at least that's the impression I get, is that this is like exciting new technology. This is what adventure games and games in general are going to be. This is like when we get to the 21st century, when the clock strikes one in the year 2000, uh uh the like everyone's going to play games like this. And then
We won't have to wait
obviously,
with art anymore. We can just have video.
yeah. And then obviously, like, that was rejected. Like, that was like, it stopped selling, and people moved on. Um and so now, returning to FMV and people like using it, it it's so curious and strange. Like,
It
it's
is.
such a strange thing to have somebody in this century make an FMV game. And to me, that like, and now, but my point is that now it's kind of artist driven. It's driven by the designers, it's driven
Right.
by the developers. It's like, I have this idea, and I can only tell this story using like actors, and
Yes.
like, and
Or I
like,
can
I
tell
mean,
it better with actors.
yeah,
Yeah.
and like with video footage of actors, because it's like, like Baldur's Gate 3 mocapped the hell out of every
Yes.
character, and it looks
Everything
really cool.
does.
But like Baldur's Gate 3 would be way better.
Can you imagine?
FMV.
Can you
Yeah,
imagine?
that
First of
would
all, it
take
costs
a
like as
B
much as
minus
the
game and make it
yeah.
an A plus.
Ben, I know we said we wouldn't mention 90s games anymore.
Yeah,
How did
never
we
again.
not talk about Star Trek Borg at any point during this episode?
Well, it's because it's getting its own episode soon.
Okay, there you go. Enough said. Enough said. You heard it here first, gang. We're going to do a 4-part episode on Star Trek Borg.
With John Delancey. Now,
Yes, the game, not the podcast.
correct.
Yeah, we can't get him.
No, but we can get John Delancey the game. But yeah, like, and I think that's what's really interesting about it, and what's interesting about like kind of the new stuff and the indie stuff is that these are direct choices versus it's like, this is the cutting edge future Jane Jensen figure out a way to do this with actors. And maybe
This is
she
what
was
our
thrilled to do
investors
it
want
with
to
actors.
see. And I
Yeah.
suspect she might have been. Yeah, I suspect for her being able to tell a more cinematic story was probably very exciting. I mean, she's
Yeah.
someone with who seems like she might have big cinema dreams. You know,
And
so,
I mean, in the way that Gabriel Knight 2 ends, like its big like climax is something that is more impressive because it's done on video with actors.
absolutely, yeah. I mean, it
If it
is
was done in pixels or like polygons or whatever, it would look neat and it would be like in the story and explain what happens. But like on video, it looks ridiculous. So
yeah.
what happens? What's the climax? Spoilers.
Spoilers for Gabriel Knight to The Beast Within. So at the end, you put on a ding dang Wagner opera. You stage a Wagner opera to catch a werewolf. Which you say those words out loud and you ask yourself, how do we get there? And trust me, if you play Gabriel Knight 2, it seems like a completely reasonable plan once you built up to it.
Like you see people in full costumes and
There are
there's
people
like
in
these
full yeah.
elaborate sets and
They've composed
ridiculous.
music. They have an orchestra there playing.
It is so like, and yeah, like if you did that with like, like hand-drawn graphics or polygon, like, if
It could still
that
be
was
cool,
composed, that would be great, be very neat.
but
But that they got all of that on video is
yes,
ridiculous.
it looks expensive. It
Yeah.
looks time consuming, and it all pays off because it's like, man, if you played Gabriel Knight 2, there's a good chance you're 7-8 hours into the game by the time you reach that, maybe longer. And it gives you like the big send off that really makes it all worth it. I mean, it is a spectacle, and that's like FMV at its best. I mean, it does have the potential when used well to create a level of just sort of like human excitement that that sets it apart. I think those are the games that, like, when you see something, you think to yourself, I think this could have only been done in
Yeah.
video. That's when
Yeah.
they're working. That's when they're
Right.
clicking, pointing
Yeah.
and clicking.
Yeah. All right. Well, I have to stop there. I was going to say more, but I have to stop there. That's that. That's the period at the end of the sentence, I'm afraid. All right. I mean, I have to. It's legally I have to. I have more to say, but that's straight in the bin.
Well, that could be for our patrons and the
for our
patrons only.
Patreon. Yeah. All right. Well, do you have a favorite FMV adventure game or game at all? Like, it could be Wing Commander 3. I don't care. Do you have a favorite FMV game? Send us an email at questquestpodcast@gmail.com. You can hear the melancholy music that I haven't played in a while.
Yeah. And let me say this.
Yeah.
You know what? I'm going to try some reverse psychology here. I personally hope the listeners don't rate and review this podcast. You know what? I think that is, maybe they're just not tough enough. Or
they're probably
cool
not
enough.
cool.
Yeah, just not cool enough to go give a review to this, because I mean, they don't care if people find this podcast.
Yeah. They want
and
it
I
to
don't
be
either.
their little secret. But yeah, thank you. And you can always watch us on Twitch. The links are in the profile. You can see it. It's right there. It's right there. It's right there on the Twitch. But yeah, shoot us an email, write a review, follow us on Twitch, and join us next week when we discuss the exciting new King's Quest fan game entirely about the creature in the moat. We'll be there then. Bye, folks.
Bye.